What's going on, y'all? Gamersgoon here today with match day number 2 predictions. Yesterday, I'm recording this on Tuesday. I believe you probably either see this Tuesday night or Wednesday. But yesterday we finished up the first week of games with Man United and Wolves. Unfortunately for Wolves, VAR did not help them, and they ended up losing that game on a game that I think they probably should have drew on. That was a game that Man United did not look good. I was not impressed. I didn't watch many of the games this weekend, unfortunately, because I had a very busy weekend, obviously with the NFL starting back up as well. But I got to watch my Arsenal Gunners team, and then I also got to watch that Man United game, and I didn't think Man United deserved to win that game, to be honest with you. But that is not what we're here for. We're here for this week's games. Starting Friday, we got Nottingham Forest, who lost to Arsenal 2-1, up against Sheffield United, who I believe lost. Yeah, they did lose to Crystal Palace 1-0 to start the season. Two teams coming off losses, two teams that I think are probably in the bottom half of the league. And this is really a good chance and opportunity for Sheffield United to get their first goal of the season. A little bit easier of a competition here going up against Nottingham Forest. I believe this game is being played in Nottingham, so hypothetically Forest should win. A newly promoted Sheffield United squad should not be going into Nottingham and beating them. But I could see this being a draw, so ultimately I'm going to call it a draw. I'm going to say it's 1-1. Sheffield United gets their first goals of the season, and I'm putting it into FOTMob right now in my prediction. But I'm gonna say that they end up drawing. I could see a draw here, or I could see Forest, or I could see a draw. I doubt Sheffield United really wins that game. Then we get to the Saturday games. We got Fulham and Brentford. Two teams that Brentford drew, and then Fulham won. But they both scored goals. They're not looking for their first goals of the season. Brentford, they did their thing against Spurs, who I think are a little bit better than the team Fulham played. That Fulham played Everton. So I think Brentford might be a little bit more ready to compete early on in the season. So ultimately, I'm going to say Brentford win this one, 2-1. I think Fulham will score. But I do think Brentford could still win this one 2-1. So we're going to give it to Brentford's side of things. And Fulham, unfortunately for you, I have you losing this week. But I actually did pick up Leno, their goalie. And he is now my backup keeper. But I think I'm going to start him because my other option is Ederson. And a little bit tougher of a matchup for Ederson this week than he had last week. But Fulham and Brentford, I'm going with Brentford. Then we get Liverpool versus Bournemouth. Liverpool got a draw out of Chelsea. We'll talk a little bit more about Chelsea. And then Bournemouth got a draw out of West Ham. Two teams coming in with draws. Liverpool, you would like to see maybe a midfielder added. Obviously, their transfer window has been a disaster. They wanted to go in on Caicedo. Caicedo didn't want them. He ended up choosing Chelsea for a record transfer there. And then they said, you know what, we couldn't get Caicedo. Let's go back in on Lavia. They were offering a couple million short of Lavia the entire time. And now they're not getting Lavia because Lavia is also going to Chelsea. And then to add on to Chelsea, if Liverpool maybe thought, well, we didn't get our two center mids, let's go trigger somebody's release option. Let's go look at somebody that he might not be able to play right now. At least say Palace is also going to be ending up at Chelsea, it seems, because Chelsea did trigger his release clause. So Liverpool, Chelsea is spending big money. They're stopping Liverpool from making whatever signings they want. I don't know where Liverpool goes from here. There's not a lot of names, really, that I think would be great options for them that are available at this time. I mean, they're going to have to significantly overpay if they go in on somebody because everybody knows they have over $100 million to spend on a defensive midfielder now. So it'll be interesting to see what Liverpool does for the rest of this window and going into the season. But Liverpool is taking L after L. You would hope they would get the win over Chelsea week 1. They drew. That's good, I guess. You still get a point, but Chelsea, right after the game, is beating you off the field, taking your signings, keeping them away from Liverpool. And that's not something you'd expect because Liverpool is a team that's going to be playing European footy, and that is not what Chelsea will be doing this season. Now, granted, Liverpool is in the Europa League, I believe. They're not in the Champions League. Let me make sure that's right. Yeah, they finished 5th last year, so they're definitely in the Europa League instead of the Champions League this season. But Liverpool, they need to win this game against Bournemouth. This is a winnable game. It's at home in Anfield. You gotta win this game if you're Liverpool. And I don't necessarily know if they will dominate this game. I was hoping to see some teams dominate this week. Like I thought Man United was going to dominate Wolves, and it didn't happen. Liverpool needs to dominate this Bournemouth team. And I'm going to say 3-0. Liverpool has to have a big win here. They really got to send a message to any prospective players that they're going to try getting over the next few weeks before the deadline, because it's going to be a long time until January when the window opens back up and before you can get somebody else. So Liverpool, they need a big win. Not really sure why Burnley and Luton is postponed. One of these two teams probably play. It's probably Burnley then, huh? Burnley probably plays. No. I wonder why the game's postponed. Let's see if I can read in the news. I don't know why it's postponed. Maybe let me Google why Luton Burnley's postponed. I'm curious now. Luton v Burnley postponed. Oh, okay. Luton. This is what it says on Talk Sports. Luton's capacity size is sufficient for the Premier League, but they need to construct a new stand to meet the broadcast and media requirements. They requested their opening home match of the season against fellow promoted side Burnley be postponed. Okay, so that's why it was postponed. Okay, that makes sense. So I don't know when it's going to be played, but I was impressed with Burnley against Man City last week. Luton, obviously, we saw Brighton do their thing, absolutely battered them. Did 4-1, not 4-0. I thought it was going to be a 4-0 type of game, but it didn't end up being that way. Burnley, they lost 3-0. They didn't score, but I was rather impressed. Two goals that Holland got. It's Holland. It's hard to stop anyways. And for the most part, they did a really good job of getting opportunities. Burnley did. They just couldn't finish them off. So I do think Burnley has a shot to potentially win this game against Luton. But I'll just say it like that. We're not even going to give a score prediction because I don't know when this game will be played. Wolves and Brighton. Brighton should win this game. Wolves, though, looked better than I thought they would against Man United. So Wolves definitely aren't slouches this early in the season. They're definitely competing, at least at this rate. But Brighton should win this game. There's no excuse for Brighton. I know they're going to Wolverhampton to play it, but there's no excuse for it. Brighton, you got to win this game. This is just a team that you, on paper and on the field, should be better than. So I'm going to go Brighton 2-0. And let's get to the next one, which is Tottenham going, or actually I think this is home. Yeah, it is. Tottenham against Man United. Man United did not impress me. They did not impress me. They looked poor in my opinion. Besides the goalie there, Onana, who I think probably should have got a yellow or at least a foul in VAR when they looked it over. I think they should have at least had a pin opportunity for Wolves. But besides Onana, the team did not look good. They did not. Onana looked good. He looked like he was doing well. But, I mean, you have a lot of guys on this team that are really good players. Marcus Rashford, Fernandez, Antony, Mason Mount, Casemiro. But I wasn't really too impressed with any of them. Nobody really stood out. Rashford had a couple chances, but ultimately their goal came from their center back and Varane. I don't necessarily know how to pronounce his name, but came from a center back, and you would hope that one of your top attackers there would be able to put a little bit more pressure on the opposing team's goalie. But they looked easily they looked beatable in transition. Wolves had a lot of good chances, especially in transition, and even in on half side or like just one half of the field, they looked beatable. They looked like they could be beat. Not a necessarily team that strikes fear into me at this point in the season. They did figure out a way to get up 3 points, but they don't really strike fear in me from what I saw yesterday. So if United can't play better, then I do think Tottenham wins this. But I'm just gonna throw out the draw. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 1-1, maybe even 2-2, but probably more likely 1-1 with Onana in goal. But we'll go 1-1 draw. In at Tottenham, but I don't know if I can pick United to win the game, and I don't know if I can pick Tottenham to win the game. Tottenham already got a draw in the season against Brentford, so I think I'm gonna just stick with the draw there. Man City going up against Newcastle. I believe because I think they played Burnley in Burnley at Turf. Yeah, they did. They played Burnley at Turf Moor. Man City's first home game of the season. Man City should win this. I know Newcastle won big against Aston Villa, who I think will finish fairly high this season. Aston Villa, Newcastle, another team that should finish very high this season. First game at home this season, though, it's going to be tough to beat City, and I don't even know if you get a draw out of it. I'm just going to say it's going to be 1-0. There could obviously be more scoring than that, but I'm just going to go with 1-0 for now and give it to City. Sunday, we got Villa at, I believe, it's Villa Park, so they're going to be playing at home against Everton. Another team that they should beat, like I said with a couple games earlier. There's no reason for Villa to lose this game. I know they lost last week, but you cannot lose this week against this team. Everton is not a team that I think is going to finish very high this season. They're a team that I think are beatable. You should win this game at home. Villa should win 2-0. Maybe 2-1, but I think I'm going to say 2-0 for now. But Villa, this is a must-win game for Villa. You can't lose at home to Everton. I wouldn't draw with Everton because this is just a team that on paper, on everything, you're just better than. Simple. Then we get West Ham and Chelsea. And with this game, I think, once again, it's going to depend on Chelsea's situation. It is at West Ham. I think I'm going to go Chelsea. It depends on if they're going to get their guys to play this game. Obviously, we know the 3 big transfers that are potentially coming through their door at any moment with Caicedo, Lavia, and now Elise. 3 really big players that could be added onto that team. But I think Chelsea wins this game regardless. They got a draw out of Liverpool, who I still think, even though they have some issues currently, I think they're still better than a team like West Ham. And then on the 21st, Monday, we got Arsenal going to Palace and playing there. That's going to be a trickier game than what we played last week. We played a slightly easier side in Nottingham Forest at home. Palace, always a tough team to play. They're middle of the pack for the most part. They could pull up a win here or there against some of the top teams. Palace, At Palace, I'd be happy with a draw, but I'm gonna be a little selfish and say we're gonna win this game. This could be the debut of David Raya, the new goalie that came out of Brentford, and it could also just be a Ramsdale game. But Arsenal has a tricky season ahead of them. Jurrien Timber out for a decent portion of the season now. And I don't know what that means. I really don't. Jurrien Timber was looking great in the preseason. He was looking great in all aspects before he got hurt. His preseason looked good. Before he got hurt in this game, he was looking good. Everything I've heard people talk about Jurrien Timber has been good. And I think that he was legitimately a candidate to maybe push Zinchenko out of the rotation. Well, not in rotation, but out of the starting 11 when Zinchenko's fully healthy. Because Jurrien Timber's been exceptional. He's been absolutely exceptional for us so far. So that's going to be a massive loss. I'm not exactly sure what is the official diagnosis. I don't think anybody knows. But we do know that he is going to be out for a while. Something I believe maybe with an ACL, but I do know he's going to miss significant time. Another guy that on Arsenal's radar that I don't think we need to pay much attention to at this point because I haven't heard of any official offers until that's the case. I don't think we need to be concerned about it. But a big money move could be made for Gabriel, one of our center backs who didn't start for whatever reason. Arteta said it was a strategic move. I don't like it personally. I'm a big fan of Gabriel in that center back position, but he did not run it. Ben White got moved to center back, and they moved Thomas Partey into the back line. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting seeing the chess game that Arteta's going to have to do now with losing another back there in Timber. Obviously, Zinchenko's coming back from injury. We were trying to sell KT, Kieran Tierney. Tomiyasu has been rumored in a swap deal with Inter Milan. I mean, I imagine those probably get put on hold with Timber being gone. KT, I think we were close to selling or loaning him. At least it sounded like it was going to happen. And Tomiyasu, we've been rumored to be trying to do a swap deal with Inter Milan. And I don't know if those are going to happen now. We're probably going to have to delay that until Timber gets back. And if he's even back by January, and to make those moves in the January deadline, are those players still wanted by those teams at that point? I don't know. We might even be in the market right now for a defensive player. I've heard a bunch of different names get tossed around so far. One that I'm a really big fan of is the guy from I like the idea of this. He's on my my FPL team. He had a really good day. It's like Gaihi, something like that. Mark Gaihi. Let's see. FL. Or no, PL is what it is. I always forget the Premier League app. Here he is. The Palace guy. He got 6 points for us, for me. Played 90 minutes, got a clean sheet. But I've heard his name get tossed around. I've heard Walker Peters' name be tossed around. I've heard a lot of different names be tossed out there. I don't really like this idea, and I haven't heard it tossed out there, but I am aware that Harry Maguire's deal seems to have fallen through, so that's another option. I don't really want it, but it's an option. I know that City, there was a player from City. Who was it? One of the City players they were talking about potentially being moved over. Laporte out of Spain. from Man City, but they don't know if Man City will sell to Arsenal. So, I mean, it's a bunch of interesting players to consider, but I don't know necessarily if we're going to go for anybody. And we're also a team that might still be in the market for a striker. We might be looking for a different profile type of striker because Gabriel Jesus won't be back until the end of the month. Eddie Nketiah, obviously, there's been rumors on whether or not we're going to sell him or not, but he got his goal. He does his thing. He does a very good job at that. And then obviously Trossard plays a little bit of a center forward position. And then you got Balogun, who is the U.S. men's national team guy, but he doesn't seem to be in the plans, and we're trying to sell him. I mean, it'll be interesting. It'll definitely be interesting to see if we go for a striker. I know Ivan Toney's been a big name thrown around by Arsenal fans, but I don't know if we're going to get him. Obviously, we'd have to wait till January to even do that. Well, we can do it, but it isn't going to happen. It's not going to mean anything. But anyways, going to Crystal Palace, I think we're going to get a draw. But thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.